big changes in the offseason, obviously. Last season, they finished 10-6. Their over-under with Vegas is 10.5. I have them finishing above that. 11-6 is where I have the Rams going. Obviously, the biggest change is at the quarterback position. Matthew Stafford comes to town. Jared Goff out of there. Deshaun Jackson's over there. Brandon Staley, the defensive coordinator. So a third defensive coordinator in 3 years for the Rams, as they went from Wade Phillips to Brandon Staley to now Raheem Morris, I believe, is their defensive coordinator right now. They did re-sign Andrew Whitworth, so keeping their offensive line solid. I think the biggest thing with the Rams is they are so top heavy. The fact that they have Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, these pieces on offense, Matthew Stafford, has allowed them to be good, but it has cost them a lot of free agents. I did notice a big thing that it looks like they lost almost as many free agents as they really gained. Josh Johnson, the safety, is gone. Michael Brocker's gone. Yeah, Johnson, my bad. I was thinking of the quarterback there. Gerald Everett goes to Seattle. So, and Samson Ebukam, like you mentioned, goes from the Rams to the Niners. There's a lot of expectations on the Rams this year. A lot of people are looking like them. They have to get to the Super Bowl when they made this big declaration. Okay, the problem was Jared Goff. We got Matthew Stafford. We should be good to go now. But I think there's so much pressure. I don't know who's more pressure, Sean McVay or Matthew Stafford, because Matthew Stafford, everyone used to just play it off. Oh, he plays on the Lions. Well, that's not a problem anymore, Matt. You're now with a team that has Super Bowl expectations. What are you going to do? What do you make of the Rams? What do you make of this season and their expectations?
I can see the Rams winning 11 or 12 games this year. They definitely needed to upgrade the quarterback position, and that's what they did this offseason by bringing in Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford, he is an excellent passer. He's a prolific passer. I could easily see him throwing for 5,000 yards in this Rams offense. Now, the knock against Stafford is he doesn't have playoff success, but, he was in with the Detroit Lions. I'm not sure why they got rid of Jim Caldwell. He was probably his best head coach there when Matt Stafford was in Detroit. And, Matt Stafford never really had the running game. He never really had a great defense like that, like he has with the Rams now. And there's no question that Matt Stafford is on the best team probably of his career when you look at both sides of the ball. It sucks that the Rams running back Akers got that torn Achilles. That's a terrible injury, especially for a running back, especially for any athlete. Achilles injury is just terrible. But, they have Henderson. He's solid. They have a lot of not household names at their running back position. But I think they're going to rely on Stafford to throw the ball. They have a plethora of weapons offensively. You mentioned Deshaun Jackson. They have Woods. They have Cooper Kupp. I believe they have a pretty solid tight end. And I've interviewed some Rams fans, and they talk about this guy. I think his name is Jacob Harris at tight end. They say he's the next George Kittle. So clearly they're not being very objective. They don't know what they're talking about. But you mentioned that the Rams are top heavy. They have Ramsey. They got Donald. They have Leonard Floyd. But after that, who do they have? And we'll see who they have once we play them this year. I think the Rams still win probably 11 or 12 games this year. If you've seen the Rams schedule, their first 6 games are pretty tough. I think they play like 4 or 5 playoff teams from last year. So that's definitely something to look at. The Rams will have to get off to a fast start. They can't start off the season like 2-4 or anything like that. And that'll be a nice test for Stafford. Your first 6 games are going to be pretty tough. How can the Rams do? And you mentioned that the Rams have lost a lot of free agents, I think because their salary cap. They Aaron Donald, one of the highest paid defensive players. Jalen Ramsey, one of the highest paid defensive players. And they don't care about their draft picks. They gave away, I think, 2 for Jalen Ramsey. And also they're still paying Jared Goff. They're still paying Todd Gurley. So they're not going to have much salary cap. But for this year, I can see them winning maybe by 11 or 12 games this year.
I do give it to the Rams ownership and front office that they have a very go for it mentality. The fact that they could look at their team and say, okay, we have this roster. We think we're just missing at the quarterback position. They're like, okay, Matthew Stafford, let's do it. And I find it funny how that trade came together. Apparently they were talking in Cabo and Sean McVay had to steal him away from Kyle Shanahan. How different would that have turned out if the Niners pursued Matthew Stafford? I don't know. I guess I have a tough time separating what's Detroit and what's Matthew Stafford as a quarterback that's been talked about as a top 10 quarterback in the league for years now. I just would have expected that we would have seen more seasons in which he rose above the talent on the roster, like we've seen so many other quarterbacks be able to do over his time. And the fact that we never really saw that from Matt, I think the biggest thing that Sean McVay could provide to him is less having to think about it, less having to play hero ball out there. It's a run first team. I know you mentioned Cam Akers went down with the Achilles injury, but definitely Darrell Henderson, Jake Funk, the other kid they have on there, Xavier Jones, I think is a solid committee. And, they're like the Niners in that way. They'll use the committee back system to achieve their ends. They don't rely on necessarily that workhorse back anymore. A lot of people are also high on their wide receiver out of the second round, Tutu Atwell. They think he could provide another dimension to that offense as well. The Rams are going to be scary. I'm not going to lie. I don't think the Niners are going to be able to sweep them this year. Like I mentioned, this division is going to come down to who can make the most out of their tiebreakers. Who's going to be that team that rises above 3-3 in the division? And if the Rams could just steal a couple games here from the Niners or steal some from the Seahawks, that could be the difference as far as them rising above. Right now, based off the division, and again, I hope this is a spoiler alert for my next team here, I had them finishing third because I had them finishing behind the Seahawks and the Niners.
Interesting. And it's funny because we play the Rams the last game of the season this year. So, that could determine, who wins the division. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out because every team, obviously, I think all the 4 teams, I don't think any team will sweep another team. I think a lot of our in division games will split. That's how I see it. And, I'm definitely looking forward to the season.
I think the biggest loss, though, is going to be Brandon Staley. For nothing else, the number 1 defense, 3rd year of defensive coordinator switch. And it's not like Sean McVay's out there calling defense. So I think that's going to be a lot for the Rams there.